let's just dive right into an incredible explainer today. We are breaking down the fast-moving, highly controversial, and honestly, absolutely fascinating science of de-extinction. We're going to look at the very real technologies currently at work inside our labs and the fierce debates happening right outside their doors.
But before we even get into the how, we have to ask the overarching question of this entire explainer. Why are we actually trying to bring back extinct animals in the first place? I mean, are scientists genuinely trying to save the planet? What's the actual benefit for humanity here? Is there some secret motive driving these billion-dollar projects? Or is this all just a massive, dangerous waste of money and tech companies are just doing it simply because they can?
Okay, Section 1, Resurrecting the Dead. Let's look at how it actually works.
To clear up the mechanics here, we kind of have to forget what we've all seen in the movies. We aren't out here extracting pristine dinosaur DNA from ancient amber. That is actually scientifically impossible because amber is super porous, so it completely destroys DNA over time. Instead, we have to look at species that went extinct much, much more recently, like the woolly mammoth. Get this, the mammoth and the modern Asian elephant actually share 99.6% of their DNA. They are literally closer relatives than Asian and African elephants are to each other. So rather than trying to build a whole animal from scratch, scientists are starting with a living relative.
The real technique is essentially, well, it's a giant cut-and-paste job. Scientists take a cell from that Asian elephant and using a gene editing tool you've probably heard of called CRISPR, they pinpoint that tiny 0.4% of the DNA that's different. They basically cut out the elephant sequence and paste in the mammoth sequence. And they do this for the traits that really matter, things like thick fat layers, shaggy hair, small ears. So they're editing the cells of a living surrogate to reconstruct the functional traits of a completely lost species.
And I really want to stress something here. This isn't just theory anymore. The proxies are already here. Back in 2025, 3 gene-edited direwolf proxies named Romulus, Remus, and Khaleesi were successfully born. No way, right? They took a modern gray wolf baseline and literally engineered the historical traits of the direwolf right into them. This absolutely proves that functional de-extinction is already a reality. It is happening in our labs right now.
Moving on to Section 2, Engineering Our Future Climate. Let's talk about the ecological promises. So what's the massive benefit that actually justifies all this crazy effort? Well, check out this comparison. First, we have the modern Arctic. It's increasingly covered in trees and moss, which kind of acts like a dark blanket. That blanket traps heat, melts the permafrost underneath, and, here's the bad part, releases massive amounts of carbon. But then we see this vision for the future. By returning a cold-resistant functional mammoth to the Arctic to knock down all those trees and trample the snow, scientists believe we can transform that landscape back into a grassy, cold steppe. This ancient ecosystem acts like a giant refrigerator, trapping carbon and actually combating global climate change. Pretty wild, right? But it's not just about the climate, It's about ecosystem stability. For example, in places like Australia, we lost the thylacine, also known as the Tasmanian tiger, back in 1936. As an apex predator, it played a totally vital role in disease control. Without it around, sick animals like the Tasmanian devil stick around longer and spread these devastating facial tumors. Plus, herbivores like wallabies overpopulate and just absolutely destroy the vegetation. So, reintroducing an engineered thylacine proxy could act as a biological anchor, totally preventing entire ecosystems from collapsing under the weight of disease and overgrazing. All right, Section 3, the hidden scientific motive, the Trojan horse. Now, there is absolutely a secret motive here. Resurrecting the mammoth? It's actually a Trojan horse for pioneering brand new biotechnology. The crazy tools being developed on the path to resurrecting the mammoth and the dodo, well, they can be applied right now. For example, scientists are actively engineering cane toad toxin resistance into the cells of the highly endangered northern quoll down in Australia. They're also looking at modifying the genomes of Hawaiian honeycreepers to resist avian malaria. The massive multiplex genome editing required for de-extinction is yielding all these offshoot technologies that could immediately protect modern livestock, save currently endangered species, and this is huge, significantly advance human health therapies. Let me give you a seriously mind-blowing example of these secondary benefits. So say you want to bring back the giant moa, which was this massive 12-foot extinct bird. You can't exactly put its giant embryo inside the egg of a modern, much smaller emu, right? So scientists had to invent an entirely new, highly specialized artificial egg incubation platform. And get this, in May 2026, they actually used the synthetic system to successfully hatch 26 healthy chickens. That is completely revolutionary technology. It was created for a lost species, but it completely transforms how we can breed and save endangered birds today.
And researchers are even looking at what's called molecular de-extinction. Using AI, they are literally mining the genomes of extinct creatures like giant ground sloths just to find ancient immune responses. They've actually already synthesized primordial molecules like elephansin-2, which in lab tests have shown the ability to destroy modern multi-drug resistant bacteria. Think about that for a second. The cure for the next superbug might just come from a creature that died 1,000,000 years ago. Incredible.
Which brings us to Section 4, a colossal waste of money, the conservation backlash. But as incredible as this utopian vision is, it has a dark antithesis. World-renowned conservation ecologist Stuart Pym is a leading critical voice here. He argues that this high-tech focus strains absolutely crucial funding away from protecting the actual ecosystems that are failing us right now. He literally calls it molecular gimmickry, warning that it offers developers a really dangerous veil. Basically, if politicians believe we can just magically bring an animal back later, what's stopping them from bulldozing its habitat today?
Critics like Pym argue that de-extinction sells a sterile, kind of seductive fantasy. It creates this narrative where brilliant scientists in white lab coats effortlessly save the planet with digital readouts and gene editing, right? But that completely ignores the messy, real-world economics of human population growth, relentless habitat destruction, and, frankly, broken political systems. Take the spotted owl as an example of that veil of greed. Its habitat is actively threatened by logging. If de-extinction is suddenly viewed as a safety net, conservationists worry that logging companies will just use it as a get-out-of-jail-free card. They can justify clear-cutting old-growth forests today by promising that, hey, the displaced species can simply be resurrected or thawed out in the lab tomorrow. It's a scary thought.
Okay, Section 5, the ultimate conservation dilemma, lab versus wild realities.
This is where the soaring promises of the lab meet the incredibly harsh realities of the wild. It all really comes down to the where do we put them problem. Let's say we spend millions to successfully engineer a Pyrenean ibex proxy. Well, if we haven't fixed the primary drivers of their original extinction, which in this case was a lack of safe habitat and severe overhunting, then reintroducing them to the wild is completely pointless. Without a secure ecosystem to return to, that cloned ibex simply becomes the world's most expensive meal. So as we stand on the brink of this incredible genetic frontier, with wolf proxies literally already walking the earth and artificial eggs hatching in labs, I want to leave you with this question. Do we invest our limited resources and our future in resurrecting the ghosts of what we've lost? Or do we prioritize that funding to aggressively protect the messy, fragile habitats we still have left? It's a question we are going to have to answer very, very soon. Thanks for joining me on this explainer today. I'll catch you next time.